Okay, I'm trying this again. Because I really want to tell the story of the bullfights here because that's one of the most fun things you can do if you have a spare evening. It's they pack the stands. It's like, I don't know, $5 to sit in the stands, so it's not much. And if you don't sit in stands, you can go underneath and press yourself against the walls there and take a look at the bullfighting. Hey, yeah, I'm trying to be back, Carolyn Wilson. I hope that this is better than it was. So I'm going to resume talking about the bullfighting. It's all these local bulls. They're coming off farms. It's not like they're breeding these guys specifically to fight in the bullfights. Like I know in Mexico and some of the places where bullfighting is huge, they have special bulls that are bred for the temperament to fight. Hey, I'm doing well, Small Town Jewel. Hey, Lisa. I'm having to reboot because I'm having internet connectivity issues, but I'm not surprised. That happens here frequently. If I ever disappear, it's because my electricity has done this. It does tend to wiggle. I was saying that Costa Rica is second world, trying to become first world, and there are a couple of bumps in the road for them. First, I think they have to pave more roads here to make that happen because the majority of the roads here are unpaved. So if you move here, you need to bring with you a paid for late model. Well, not too late of a model, four-wheel drive. We brought an old CRV. And there's a reason you don't want to bring too new of a model. Number one, you can't import it if it's financed. It's got to be 100% paid for. Number two, the likelihood of getting bumps and dents and all kinds of things jump because of the Lisa. Small Town Jewel, I didn't pre-schedule this. I wasn't even sure I was going to do it because yesterday I had real bad asthma. And like I said, I got up at 10 a.m. I was up maybe 4 hours. I was medicating like crazy. I was in the bed from 2 till 8 p.m. I got up from 8 p.m. to midnight, and then I was back in the bed until 9 o'clock this morning. When that happens, when I'm having to push that much meds, sometimes that happens, and I'm just like so worn out and wasted that not good for anything. And that's good for here because here, like I've said before, it's always Tuesday afternoon. You can do what you want. You can because we're retired and it's like, what are we going to do next? My husband took early retirement. So specifically for us to come somewhere. And it was a good decision. I mean, he had good retirement from the federal government. So between that and income through the years that we've managed to build up, it became a doable thing for us here. Now, we did spend a lot of money to get here. I have to think about you and my COPD rears up. I head for another climate. I often think, Lisa, investigate that. Figure out what climate works for you. You know, the best breathing I've ever had here is at a place called Atenas or Athens. I guess that's the Spanish way of saying Athens. It's in the mountains here. A lot of Germans living there. And I can sit there on the hotel balcony. Like, I could get a breath all the way down to the bottom of my lungs. That's the reason that we're doing the mountain house thingy right now, because of that. That's one of the reasons. And that's really, I think, the big benefit of moving somewhere is if you have some kind of health condition that can be benefited. Here on the beach, it's not 100% better for my asthma, but it is a little bit better than other places I've lived, including when I was living in Virginia. Here, rainy season is my bugaboo because of the mold. And when dry season happens and there's a lot of dust flying around, then I won't have issues. So there's that. So I got to go back to the bullfighting because it's so funny. They can't hurt the bulls. So they put these balloons or whatever, and they have the guys do these different kinds of activities to remove the balloons or the handkerchief or whatever. And you might have 100 guys in there. Most of them have a little liquid courage in them. So they're jumping up and down. They're doing all kinds of stuff. The bulls come out, and like I said, they're not specifically bred for this. These are bulls off the farms. I saw that the first time we went to one of these things, and we're walking around the bull ring, and I could see the holding pens for the bulls, and my hand through was petting one of them, and just like clueless little bulls. Y'all have arguments when you're constantly together. Does he usually go about, oh, small town Jewel? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. That, because that's that, when you have retirement at an early age, you do kind of have that sometimes. So these bulls are not really vicious or anything. So they bring them out. The drunk guys are all popping around, trying to touch the bull, grab the handkerchief, pop the balloon, whatever. And we're all in the stands drinking mojitos, laughing so hard we're falling down, because I usually have stands where they're selling them like mojitos or chili guaros for $2. And it's just hysterically funny. Most of the time, the poor bulls are very confused and upset. I've seen several of them come out, take one look around, go, oh, hell no, and go right back out the way they came in. So there's that. Every now and then you'll get to see a good one where a bull is very annoyed with being in that ring with all those drunk guys and runs around and scares the hell out of a few people. And then you have the caballeros come in with their horses, and they'll do roping and different things. It's just an interesting thing. Small town Jewel, I have to address that. When you are all together with each other and you're not used to being all together with each other, at first this was really, really hard for me. I don't know if it was hard for my husband or not, but he had a pretty significant commute into DC every day, because the truth of the matter is almost no one lives in DC that works there. Almost everybody lives in Northern Virginia like we did, or they live in Maryland. I know some people live in West Virginia. There are also people I know that live in far-flung places like Pennsylvania that make that commute in every single day, which kind of blows my mind. I thought West Virginia was bad enough. So it was a long commute every day. He'd come home tired. And in those days, I did everything, because he had this long commute. He had this long, stressful job, working on the one publication of the Bureau of Labor Statistics where he worked. He worked on the Monthly Labor Review. That's a publication they put out every month that had all kinds of different things in it, and helping authors put in book reviews. So there was that. Just retired at 61, me at 58. We're going to each other constantly. Oh, Lisa, you have to find your balance. And that was what I was just going to say. So at first it was really hard on me, because I was used to doing everything. I had my schedule. I had things I did on certain days. And having him home all the time was really hard, particularly since I'm a writer. And when I would do my columns for Pathos, sometimes that required research and quiet and thinking time. And there are times that I would sit there with my coffee cup and I would just be thinking about what I was going to write. And my husband is Mr. Action Man. He'd be like, oh my God, I got to do this, I got to do that, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, just stop. So you're going to find your balance, Lisa. Hang in there. But I am going to say that the statistics for divorce jump at retirement. And I saw that one time on a seminar we went to on retirement, Jim and I did, because we wanted to see. And it made sense for us, because he wasn't quite retirement age, Social Security age. And he found out he could make 75% of his salary for not going in. And taking away those expenses like his VRE ticket, Virginia Rail Express ticket, taking away all the stupid expenses that we had for him to work in town. So it just made sense for us. And then when we started looking at the realities of life here, we said, I want to be where the sun is shining every single day. Now here it's a little bit different. We each have our own little circles of things that we move in. He knows when I have asthma days like yesterday, I'm up in that bed. I got my book in my hand. I'm not my iPad in my hand, reading a book. So he has things he's involved with. He's involved with the Nicaraguan ministry they're trying to do right now. He's involved with the church. He went yesterday for a long stretch to work on the church. They're trying to re-landscape the entire yard. I don't know why. I thought it was beautiful before, but what do I know? He has things like that. He teaches English at a school here. He gets Costa Rican kids ready to take the TOEFL exam and to apply for scholarships to American universities. Oh, he is here. He's here right now. He's on his computer in the other room. We have our in separate rooms. I thought about putting mine out there, and I may do it at some point because it is a little awkward to have it here in the bedroom. But I put it here specifically so that I would have a non-distractible space to write. And it has helped some, but it isn't quite. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to schedule. He is here, but he is respectful enough that when I'm live streaming, take his butt in the other room. Because right before I did this, he was actually taking a nap, but he said something to me. He said, "Are they going to see me over here napping?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I better get up and go." So that's why he does that. I don't have a lot of alone time. But I do have some because he does teach with the TOEFL exam for this class. And the place he teaches at, Wednesdays are usually his teaching day, but right now they've just finished. They've just picked who is getting the scholarships. They've given them all the exams. So it's kind of on, I guess you would call it a sabbatical right now. So he is in the other room. Normally on a Wednesday, he's gone about now, and he's gone till 6 or 7 at night. That is a blob you see sleeping sometimes. He has his own thing. I have my own things going. And then we have the stuff we do together. After I get off, I'm doing these videos. A lot of times I'm in the other room for the rest of the day and don't come back in here, but occasionally to check emails or whatever. And that's it for me until evening. Evenings, I try to write some on my book about leaving my first very toxic church. That's my schedule. And I'm one of those cranky ass people that I had to be left alone first thing in the morning when I'm having my coffee. That has been a struggle that we've dealt with here. My husband is one of those bing. He wakes up in the morning. He is fully good to go. He does not need to caffeinate himself. He doesn't need any of that. Me, I'm kind of, when I wake up first thing in the morning, I'm kind of like, don't talk to me. So don't talk to me. I'm guzzling my coffee. Guzzling my iced coffee till about noon, and then I knock that off, and the rest of the day, it's none of that. Sometimes it's a Diet Coke. I love those things. I know how bad for you they are, but I love them. So we're opposites in so many ways. I'm rather introverted. He's rather extroverted. That's fine, except when he tries to push me to be an extrovert, which doesn't always work. Sometimes I react poorly to that. That was one of the things about Monday. I was mad because I was doing something in the laundry room. I was feeding the cats, and I looked through the window, and that's one thing that's interesting about this house. I'll have to show you one day. Every room's picture windows, even the laundry room. So I'm standing in the laundry room watching outside the body language of our guests and getting more and more pissed off. So later, that was all about trying to get me to be more social because he wants me to go to one of these wine and design things. I paint oils. I don't really need those sort of things. Every time I've gone to a wine and design thing, it's just been, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's a scheisse show. Now, don't get me wrong. If you love those, that's great. For me, it's just a waste of time. I know how to paint, and I don't like painting with others. I don't like painting with others who are getting wasted on wine or getting drunk and giggling. That kind of is just like, no, kryptonite. But I'm going to do it on Saturday because it's a friend of mine that is hosting it, who is actually an artist too. So I'm going to support her. I'm not going for any other reason. My husband's go and make friends. That's not how introverts make friends. That's how you make introverts go into their shell even more. So there is that. So yeah, we're very different. And most of the time that works for us. Not always. I don't understand why hubbies don't see that we aren't presentable and no makeup, hair, braless, and wants to just Lisa, here in Costa Rica, you kind of learn to throw that by the wayside because everybody else is doing that. Nobody's wearing a bra. Everybody's got flip-flops on. Nobody's wearing makeup. If you put on makeup here, it would melt right off your face if you were outside. That's why I laughed so hard when I was here, one of my trips here, and the Kardashians were here. They were in Cocoa Beach, and I was here in Tamarindo, of course, and they were going around doing all the same things I was, and they were doing stuff like they went to Arnall. We were there at the same time as them. It was just weird at Arnall as well, staying at our favorite wellness resort there. And so I was laughing because every day the Costa Rican TV would have pictures of what the Kardashians were doing. And I was watching them absolutely boiling hot in spandex with makeup just rolling down their face for their show. And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't think of anything more miserable here than being trussed up like that, wearing that amount of makeup. Where their faces seemed like they were melting in some of the pictures that I saw. It was just pretty crazy. Hey, Pink Nana. So that's one thing. If you're somebody that you have to put out your good china every day and you have to have your hair done and all that, this may not be the place for you. Because most people here don't do that. I don't even know the last time I served a meal that was on a paper plate. And it's not because I don't have china. It's because I'm kind of like focused on different things now. My life is very different than it was in the States, and it's a good thing. While other people, whose names I'm not going to mention, are schlepping around in transit on an icy road. I'm going to the beach. I'm standing around having tacos in my swimsuit. I'm having guaro on the beach. Ask yourselves which one you would rather be living. And that's really that benefit of moving to Costa Rica, is having a much better, a much happier, a much more peaceful, a more satisfying lifestyle. That's the name of the game. Can you be happy? I'd love to be beachy, free of, it really is. But it's kind of funny here because you also get to see other people bring their cultures. Like, there's no nudity here. If you show up at the beach and you're not wearing at least a bikini, you're going to be in trouble. And I've seen Europeans show up and go topless on the beach, and we're just kind of like, Felicia, por favor, el nudo. I love beach life myself, and that's why we're here. That's one of the reasons we really wanted to be here more than anything else. We wanted to be someplace safe, secure, cheaper. But yeah, you have to find that balance. I'm going to have to do a video, I guess, about how you find your balance when you're first retired and you're all up in each other and you're not used to that. It can be a problem. Catholic conservative culture. Yes, that is true. But guess what? That's not really so much true in the American communities. That is the reality. I always laugh here because you frequently will go and see, like, for example, the back of the buses always have a picture of Jesus on there. And it always says something like, in Jesus we trust. And you'll see routinely stuff like that here. And just kind of like, oh yeah, this is one of those Catholic cultures. And you'll get to witness some really funny, bizarre, ritualistic things. Like one time, I got to see everybody getting ready for the Festival of the Virgin of Los Angeles. There's this little black wooden carved Madonna thingy that they venerate as some kind of special thing here, which I just kind of laugh about. There's all kinds of legends around it. It's in this big basilica in Los Angeles, which is like one of the little towns south of San Jose, little mountain towns. So they found this thing and they venerate it. So they have this Festival of the Virgin of Los Angeles, and people put on their walking shoes and they walk all the way from their little tiny villages into the village of Los Angeles to light candles and worship this Virgin statue. Slave to vanity. Yeah, I think we all are to a certain extent. So they do this, and I'm like, they're doing this over a wooden statue. My brain does not go there. My brain is like, no. But it was interesting to see, because in the little village we were at in Copa de Dota, there were definitely a handful of people that decided to do the walk to Los Angeles in a couple of days, 3 or 4 days, and they're out there walking. No accounting for local taste, but that's one of those culture things that I will never understand. And I know I've told the story before about we were in Copa and that church burned down. We're in Copa de Dota, top of a mountain. I mean, middle of nowhere, these giant, I mean, you take the road and it's like the roads are like this. So we're living in this teeny tiny little village. So the Jim could teach English like he does here. Same thing, teaching kids to pass the TOEFL test to get the American scholarships. So there wasn't much to do in Copa. Copa would roll up the sidewalks as soon as darkness hit. Nothing. And so that Saturday night, we'd gone to bed at 8 o'clock. And about midnight, we started hearing yelling, lots of yelling and noise. And said, well, that's the bar over there. There's a bar where all the Nicaraguans, the workers, go to that's really crazy stuff. Small town Jewel, my mother is one of those who's like face on perfectly every time that she leaves the house. Still to this day. And I've never understood that. Pink Nana, I think I'm going to have to do one on how to handle that, because there's definitely tricks of the trade there because we all suffer from that. When my husband first came home full time, I struggled with that. There was some fighting going on. Oh, thank you so much, Reagan. I love you so much. Come here and hang out with me in Costa Rica some. That would be fun. We have a good time. We'll get on top of the roof plaza and be doing chili guaro shots. I would even forego my high blood pressure meds for one day to do that. So where was I? I was talking about when the church burned down. So anyway, the church caught on fire. It was this huge wooden church. It was a couple hundred years old. They had all these artifacts in it. It was beautiful. It was across the street from where we were living. The fire was so intense that it melted the street lights around the church. And when I heard all the yelling and put my hand on the doorknob was warm. That's how close we were to the fire. So we grabbed our passports and our wallets and put our clothes on and ran out in the street with everybody else. And it just burned to the ground because it took 45 minutes for the bomberos, which is the fire department here, to get to Copa de Delta from San Marcos, where the fire trucks were. 45 minutes. Thankfully, nothing else caught on fire. It was just a church. It burned to the ground. It was so sad. And it was such an ancient church with all kinds of different, really cool things inside. I've got to look and see if I can find my pictures, because I had taken a ton of pictures of that church before it burned down. And yeah, I'll do that. I will do some reading this afternoon, and I'll try to do that tomorrow. So where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So I got to experience something really cool through the Catholic religion that day. I was raised Catholic, and I don't have any great love for the religion because of my experiences as a child and growing up. Well, I think it was a Saturday night this happened. The next day, of course, they didn't have service, but the priest showed up from the other village like he always does. And I got to witness the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. People were in the street. They held the service right in the middle of the street in front of where the church had been. And it was like that scene in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, where the Whovillians are all holding hands. And it's like it came without trumpets and whiz bangers and whatever. So it was like that. It was the most sacred moment I've seen in a long time, where they all just came together. And it was, thank God that it wasn't worse, and praise God that it was all in his hands. And I have not seen that like that before. I think about how Americans would handle that, and I don't think it's the same way. I don't think it would be any of this. Not real religious, but loss of history is sad, and to see such a beautiful building gone. Lisa, it was a fabulous place. They had these weird carvings in there. Now, of course, they had their Jesus up on the cross that was nice and bloody and gory, but they also had some interesting things, like one of the saints with an ox cart and an oxen. They had a big life-size statue of that. They had all these books in there that were, it was considered a historical designation here. So it was really tragic that it happened. But the wood was dried out. They discovered later that it was electrical short in the building, and that doesn't surprise me because I'm going to say this about here that's kind of negative. Yeah, I belong to a list called WTF Costa Rica, and they post the craziest stuff they see and that happens here. And sometimes I just have to laugh because it's crazy. They showed a picture yesterday of somebody had done some wiring. They stuck thumbtacks through the electrical wiring to hold it to the wood. And we're looking at that going, holy fire, Batman. But that's kind of how it is. I mean, I was telling Jim the other day, I think that we're going to have to look for a licensed American electrician and have the wiring checked out in our house. I think we need some upgrades on a few things. Now, that's the other thing. If you move here, you need to bring a surge protector for every outlet in your house because the electricity here is not always steady. So everything we own is plugged into either surge protectors or, those big battery backup surge protectors for computers because it's just too easy to get burned out. Like I told somebody the other day, I've been here just under 5 years and I've gone through 4 electric coffee makers because of power surges. Check for thumbtacks. Yes, Lisa. Sometimes, and I always tell this tale about the time that I tried to get the wax gasket changed out of the toilet is the way to deal with these with Tico repairmen because Costa Ricans are wonderful people. They're very kind. They're very nice, but they tend to do things. It's always an attitude of, let's do it later. Let's just do this later. Let's do it later. Let's do it the easiest way possible. And that doesn't always work. For me, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. That's why when I crochet, when I quilt, when I paint, I don't want to walk into Walmart and buy the cheapest fabric. I'm going to buy the one that I know is going to hold up when I make the quilt because I'm not going to have that kind of time investment and mental investment in something that's going to fall apart the first time I wash it. Tico time. Yes, Tico time is a real thing, and they're perpetually late for everything. I don't know why that is, but let's do it later. Let's just take our time and do everything. I just know when I have a Tico repairman coming, they tell me they're coming at 9. I look for them around 11. Just do. Because I know how it is. They don't understand. They don't understand the American fixation with being on time. They do not understand that. They also don't understand that let's do it right the first time thing. Like I said, the getting the wax seal replaced under the toilet was right after we moved in here. Was the first guy. I wasn't watching him. He just put a bead of silicone around the bottom of the toilet. 2 weeks later, it leaked. I called him and said, "Why did it leak? Come back here and fix it." He said, "Not my problem. I don't guarantee my work." The second guy came and I said, "I want you to replace the wax gasket. Do not just run a bead of silicone." I could not have been more clear about that. He replaced the wax gasket all right, but he used the wrong size gasket. It was way too big. So the toilet was tilted like this, and then he ran a bead of silicone. And 2 weeks later, that leaked. Same deal. You call him up and say, "Well, I don't guarantee it won't leak." Say, "Well, then why did you do the damn work?" So the third time, I finally got another plumber and stood over him while he did the repair, and he did it right. There was no silicone involved at all. But it took me supervising. It took me saying, "Hey, you're going to do this. I'm going to stand here. We're going to scrape that gasket up. You're going to replace it with a new gasket, blah, blah, blah," before it happened. So the irony is as cheap as it was to have the repairs done, by the time I paid all the plumbers, it was about the same as in the States. So you live and learn when you come here about those things. You learn that you either have to adjust to the culture or you go back to the States. Say something like 80% of the people that move here go back within 2 years because they cannot adjust to the culture. It becomes too frustrating. They can't deal with Tico time. They can't deal with any of that. And it's kind of funny because there's some big advantages to being here that I haven't spoken about. Like one of them is, in the States, if you go in the bank to get a CD, it's like, what, 0.5 percentage point or something they're giving you for your money. They're locking it down forever, and you're getting 0.5 percentage point. Well, let me tell you something. Let me give you a little secret here. You could walk into any Costa Rican bank and buy a CD. You can buy it in dollars. You can buy it in colones. The colones ones, you can get between 6 and 9% interest. The dollarless ones are a little. Hey, Jim, what percentage did we get on our dollar one? 7 to 9%. So there's some big advantages to that. So, of course, why would you not lock your money in here for those big rates and get that big money and have it go straight into your bank account every month? I mean, we don't even touch any of our retirement, Social Security, any of that. We're just living entirely off of our interest income here. And it's, I cannot tell you how wonderful it is to not to have to worry about money. We put 2 kids through college at the same time. And living through that was hell on earth, from having to scrape for every stupid penny, having to be on a tight budget. Here is just the opposite. And not only that, we have a private banker. We have our own Mr. Drysdale. We don't wait in line. We need to go to the bank. We contact our Mr. Drysdale, and in we go, in and out within minutes. It is the most awesome thing ever. Lisa, I think if you have to figure out what works for you. For me, that works. Being near the beach works. Being able to go to the beach, being able to watch the turtles, being able to have 5-foot-long iguanas in my yard, having monkeys peering in the windows. All of that works for me. I love animals. It's the most beautiful place here. I love flowers. I love the beach. So for me, this works. But like I said, I do know it doesn't work for everybody. So that's why I always tell people when they're thinking about coming here, come here. But don't just come here for a 5-day vacation. Come here for like a 3 or 4 week stretch and travel around. Look at places. Talk to people. Other Americans will help you. The expat community here is pretty tight, and people will help you. And if you ever get in a jam, like 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, I had a mini stroke, a TIA. And my doctor had me airlifted to San Jose to see the neurologist. I leaned on the expat community hard then. I called someone I knew in the expat community and say, hey, can you pick up my cards at the so-and-so clinic? Can you bring it to my house? Just stick it by the gate. I'll pick it up when I get home. And the jungle phone line went into action. People came out to the airport to see me off. It was just the most incredible thing that everybody just rallied around and helped us out at a time when it was. And Jim was actually on a men's retreat when this happened. They flew him back. They flew him to the airport. So it worked. Is Buddhism very prevalent there? As a child, I felt like an outcast in school since I was raised Buddhist. However, it seems the most acceptable practice today. Maybe I just notice it more now. Reagan, I don't know if it's more acceptable here now, but I think it probably is, because here you see a lot of Buddhist statues. There's a shopping center here where they have the complete Buddhist statues everywhere, and they have what you see in Buddhism, I forgot what it's called, where the virgins who are pouring the water, and if you get under the water just as it's coming out, you'll get blessings. So somebody was telling me about those being Buddhist statues. I don't know that much about Buddhism. I have a couple of friends who are Buddhists, but there's a lot of that type of thing here, and there are a lot of people who practice that sort of thing. And you guys say you never see my husband. There he is. There he was. He ran in to wash his hands. He's always here. We're always just busy with our different things. New generations see Buddhism as very woke these days. Yeah, so I think there probably are some Buddhists here. Now, sadly, there are the same kind of evangelicals that suck here, the very same ones with the same. And I just sit back and watch and kind of laugh, because I see them doing the same things I see happening at the fundamentalist evangelical churches, the quiverful churches of the States. Same behavior, same stupidity, same everything. And you're just gonna like, yeah, yeah, Reagan, I'm sure that they're here. I mean, there's all kinds of things everywhere. I'm gonna have to research that one too, because I don't know. I know if I want to go to the Methodist church, I got to go all the way to Liberia, and I'm not going an hour away to go to the Methodist church as much as I like it compared to other things. So there is that. And here's the thing: it's very, very accepting. I mean, you think about that. A place like here, you would think with the Catholicism, there would be that there would be major homophobia and stuff. No, it's very open here. People are very accepting. I mean, we were talking about this the other day because I use medical marijuana for my asthma. Marijuana is illegal here, but it's everywhere. And it's very open. They're very open with drugs here, and nobody seems to, the police don't seem to be bothered. But then again, that is the negative. If the police are, the police are a failure here. But the thing is, you don't really need them. There's very little crime here. Very little crime. So there's that. There's a little petty theft, and I've experienced a little bit about that. You just have to be very careful to lock up all your valuables when you have workers here. That's what I've learned, which is why I don't have a regular house cleaner come, because if you employ people regularly, if you use them every week, then it goes in this whole different weird legal territory where you have to pay them a full month's pay extra every December as a bonus, and you have to pay their caja and all their other things. So I just prefer to use people occasionally when I need something, but most of the time we're perfectly fine here. We're both fairly able-bodied, and ain't nobody gonna die if I don't wash the clothes one day, if I delay it a day. It's perfectly fine. That, for me, that is the benefit here, is that there's no schedule. If I want to get up at 3 in the morning and paint in oils, I can. There's not a thing in this world stopping me. If I want to go online for 6 hours and research something and write, I can do it. If I want to go out there and bug my husband, I can do it. And I got to give him credit. He keeps himself busy. He swims a lot every day. I swim when I'm not having asthma. In some ways, it's very, very problematic for me on the days the asthma's bad, because I will react to the chemicals in the pool. So the next time the pump burns out, we're going with salt water to solve that. So that's what I always look at here. If you have a problem, you can find a way around it. When I lived in Germany, it was the same way. And I got to say, when I went from Germany back to the States, it was a harder transition from South Louisiana to Germany. I'm not really sure why, except that I say in South Louisiana, we've always lived more like the Europeans and less like the Americans. So there's that. I'm kind of used to some of the things that were done in Germany that aren't done in Virginia and DC and stuff. So it's the same way here. And when I went back to the States, one of the problems was I didn't have to figure out how to say everything I needed in German. I didn't have to worry, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have to turn into the domestic MacGyver. I'm the domestic MacGyver again here. And I find I really like that. I like having challenges and figuring out, how do I solve this? What do I need to do to make this to happen? Right now, like I said, one of the challenges I've been verklempt about, and I know people are making fun of me about this, and I don't really care. Like I said, anybody could make fun of me, and I don't really care, because I know who I am and I know where I'm going in this life. And I'm living my best life now. So have at it, buddy. This is my bugaboo. And I think I figured out a way around it. I'm usually getting big boxes. I go to, Price Mart, which is Costco here. Same thing. You can Kirkland brand everything. And get like a case of Kleenex, because with all the asthma I have and allergies, I go through a lot of it. You guys see me on here blowing my nose all the time, making my mouth not run. So I usually go get, and they have it from the States. It's real soft and everything else. With the, what do you call it? The shortages in the States, the supply chain shortages, there hasn't been American Kleenex anywhere in Costa Rica in like 4 months. So I've gone through my Costco hoard of Kleenex. So now I'm searching around. I ended up getting Kleenex brand that's made in South America. It's very different. It's very stiff, It's like using sandpaper on your nose. So I found a workaround. It took a while. You know what my workaround is? Great value. And it is made in the US and it's just as soft. But another friend of mine said, why aren't you using soft cotton handkerchiefs? And I was like, that's a really great idea. So I may be manufacturing a pile of those as well. I certainly have enough muslin to do it. So I like doing that. Buddhism does seem like a woke. Yeah, it does. Very woke. Very woke. But woke's not necessarily a bad word. I hear people using that like this woke culture. I laugh at that. Word usage has changed through the years. And that's normal. That is how society develops. That and Kleenex. So that's really where all this is going with all this. You just do whatever works for you. You don't worry about anything else. You don't worry about if other people approve of you or not. You don't. You just go on and sing your own happy song. You just do. You don't even worry about people that engage in stochastic terrorism. You just don't give those people any kind of room or part in your life. You just don't do that. You just continue on and say, bless your heart, buddy. I'm so not without a box of Kleenex because I have like 6 or 7 of these things now, like hoarding my Kleenex because I need it. So I have to laugh about that because when I first got to Copa, I'm just going to tell you guys, I almost got back on the plane and went back to the States. Copa is not Tamarindo and Tamarindo is not San Jose. I got to Copa and almost as soon as I got off the plane and I'm talking to the landlord, I said, hey, there's no top sheet on this bed and there's no hand towels and no washcloths in the bathroom. And there's just one bath towel. And she said, what's a top sheet? And what's the washcloths and hand towels? So I said, where can I go buy Kleenex? What's Kleenex? She didn't have toilet paper. Toilet paper is essential. And 5 quilts in the bed. So it's kind of like, I guess I can live without a top sheet for a while. So I had to adjust my requirements. I did go buy Kleenex that next day, that Saturday, after I'd gotten off the plane. My husband and I took the bus to Santa Maria. I walked into the local store and bought a box of Kleenex and a couple other little things. I got hand towels, bought hand towels. I couldn't find washcloths, so I had to crochet up a couple of, they call them spa cloths, but what they are is they're crocheted washcloths. I'll have to show you guys those. I switched to those. So there's that. Thank you, just saying. But that's really I know I get so excited about the stupidest things, having to figure out what to do. But like I said, at first it was just like, oh God, no, where's my top sheet? Where's the top sheet? Where's this? Where's that? And I was like losing it for a while there. It was not a pretty start to our time here. But as my husband said, it's like, this is not forever. This is 3 or 4 months. You can do anything for 3 or 4 months. And he's right about that. You could even live in a little tiny room made out of plastic panels under somebody's garage across the street from a burning church with no hand towels and no washcloths. So there's that. Oh, thank you so much, you're saying. Let's go to my yarn fund. My yarn fund, and I'm getting ready to, I spend it here in Tamarindo now because I've got a yarn shop and it's really nice. So I'm working on a design for an Afghan because I bought this pattern for like $20 off of one of the, I don't think it was Ravelry, but it could have been. And it was beautiful, but guess what? It was marked moderate skill. Crocheting for years. I consider myself kind of expert. I've never run up across a pattern I couldn't do. I ran up across a pattern I couldn't do. So I've redone the pattern so that you get the same look without all the craziness, without the worrying about front post, back post, without worrying about some of the things that are in there. They're just very difficult for anybody. the pattern needs to be marked expert. So I'm doing that. So I'm running out of some of the colors. I've got to go in today and get some after I get done with my beach walk. So speaking of which, I am going to go do that. And I'm going to try, if we go to a different beach, I'm going to do a video and post it up because that's always fun. One reason we're here is we're 10 minutes from 10 beaches. They say it's a little more than that, but not much. Like I said, if I were a crow and I could start flying that way, it's a mile and a half to the beach, a mile and a half to Grande, 5 minutes from Tamarindo, 6 minutes from Tamarindo, somewhere along that, 10 minutes from Conchal, 12 minutes from Brasilito. And that's not counting this way where you got Langosta, which is only like a mile or two past Tamarindo. There's Avellanas, there's Junquial, there's Playa Blanco, Playa Negra. There's all these different beaches. And it's nice. You can go every attempted knitting during the beginning of the pandemic. What an epic fail that was. Reagan, I may take you up on that. I may take you up on that. I'm attempting knitting. I tried it too. I tried knitting because I tried knitting myself. I tried to learn it because I would be asked to teach classes on crochet, and I can do that. I can crochet quite well, but the knitting was a bit more problematic. I never did make it work for me. I was just like, no. Right now, I have a ton of knitting needles and knitting patterns that I'm going to bring back to the States and give away or something because I can't do them. They came in a giant box of yarn that somebody put on they went to Goodwill and gave it away, and I bought it for the yarn, not realizing all those needles were in there. It was like $10, and I got this big, I swear I took the whole suitcase by itself, and it was all good. So don't feel bad just saying, I can't knit either. I couldn't knit to save my life. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Keep looking for the hook. And everybody keeps saying, you need to try Tunisian crochet. Well, Tunisian crochet is like a cross between crochet and knitting. I can't do it. I've tried. My brain just does not work for certain things. And I think it's because I learned to crochet at such a young age. I think I was like 11 or 12, something like that. So I don't have it. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. My advice to you today is don't let anybody steal your joy, no matter what they say. If you know who you are, water off the duck's back. And I'm going to come back tomorrow and talk about the realities of how hard it is to adjust to being at home with your spouse all day if you're not used to that. If you're like me and you got your schedule and you got your things you like to do, it can really take some doing. So have a great day.